Center court in Toronto has emptied out. The banners are coming down. The noise has drained into silence. And Eala's incredible run at the National Bank Open is finished. She fell 6-4, 6-0 to Olympic champion Belinda Bencic. 7 wins in a row, ended in just over an hour. But here's what almost nobody saw coming. When Eala left the court, tournament director Karl Hale wasn't talking about the final score at all. He was talking about what comes next for her and this event. And that comment is the real headline of the week. Go back 5 days. The second Eala's name appeared on the schedule, every ticket for her opening match vanished within 30 minutes. Hale, who has run this tournament for years, said he had genuinely never witnessed anything like it. He admitted that no player ranked outside the top 5 had ever moved tickets this fast. For weeks, Filipino fans have been flooding the box office with the same questions. When does she play? Against who? On which court? Once the draw was set, none of that mattered anymore. The place sold out regardless. Sobeys Stadium seats just over 10,000 people, and it filled almost instantly. Her assigned court, a smaller grandstand holding under 3,000, couldn't come close to meeting demand, so organizers shifted her opening match onto center court. Hale estimated she personally moved close to 5,000 tickets. It didn't stop at seating either. For the first time in the tournament's history, the food stands added Filipino chicken adobo to the menu. Hale called it the first time he'd ever seen an event add a dish midway through, purely because of one athlete. This stopped being about tennis a while ago. It became a community showing up for its own. Eala noticed it too. She said spotting Filipino flags scattered through the crowd gave her real joy, and that hearing fans chant Laban, fight, in Tagalog, pulled her through every match. She admitted it's hard to explain to people who weren't there what it feels like to stand inside a stadium that loud, that full of love. Commentators started drawing comparisons to the kind of crowd Serena Williams used to command, not because the results matched, but because the sound in the building did. Her sponsor list has grown right alongside that fan base. Nike, Babolat, Bank of the Philippine Islands, all already on board, and every deep tournament run adds more pressure on brands watching from outside. None of this happened overnight. It's the result of a season where she kept showing up on the biggest stages and kept delivering when it mattered. Getting to that center court moment wasn't smooth, though. Eala arrived in Toronto fresh off the biggest win of her career, her first WTA title, in Washington, where she beat world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the final. She landed in Canada at a career-high ranking of 20th, carrying a 7-match win streak, having already beaten 3 Grand Slam champions that season. But her body was running on empty. In her second-round match against Caty McNally, she rolled her right ankle chasing a forehand, needed a medical timeout, and had it taped just to stay on court. She ripped the tape off in the third set anyway and closed out the match 6-4 after nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes of play. 2 days later, she walked out against Bencic with almost nothing left in the tank. The Swiss star, a former world number 4 and Olympic gold medalist from Tokyo, didn't ease up once. Eala dropped the first set 6-4, then the second 6-0. She was honest about it afterward, saying she was as exhausted as she'd ever been at that stage of a tournament. Even so, when she walked off, the crowd rose and cheered like she'd just won the title. Knowing it would be a long stretch before she played in front of them again, she stopped mid-tunnel, turned back toward the stands, and gave one last wave. Normally that's where a story like this wraps up. Instead, that's exactly where Hale's comments took over. He didn't reveal numbers or sign anything on the spot. Nothing concrete has actually been confirmed. But he made clear the tournament sees her as far more than a single week's attraction. He described a player who reshapes what an event can become, not just for one summer, but for years ahead. He said every tournament director in the sport is talking about it, that the entire industry is paying attention. And he's right to think that way, because Eala's following doesn't stay home, it travels with her. In New York, fans show up early just to watch her practice. In Melbourne, lines form hours before her matches even start. At Wimbledon, the crowd erupted when she knocked out defending champion Iga Swiatek in the 3rd round. Wherever the tour goes, that crowd follows. Earlier this year at Wimbledon, that following had something enormous to celebrate. Eala became the first Filipino player, man or woman, to ever reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam singles draw, a milestone that made headlines across the Philippines long before Toronto entered the picture. Step back, and this is bigger than one player filling one stadium. Tennis has been dominated for decades by a small handful of countries, while a nation of over 100 million people had never produced a true breakout single star. Eala has quietly rewritten that, all while speaking Tagalog in interviews and never once distancing herself from where she came from. She's landed magazine covers across the Philippines, drawn praise from athletes and public figures alike, and turned into something closer to a movement than a matchup. For tournaments like Toronto, that raises a real question. When Eala leaves, does the energy leave with her? The stands emptying out after her exit suggested it might. That's exactly why Hale's words carried weight, not as a confirmed figure, but as a signal that organizers know exactly what they've stumbled onto and have no intention of letting it slip away. Events compete for moments like this. A player who turns an ordinary Wednesday session into a sellout and pushes a brand new dish onto the menu just by walking through the gates. Hale understands that's rare, and rare things get protected, not left to chance. As for Eala, she wasn't lingering on the loss. She said she's taking the lessons from these 2 weeks and planning to apply them even better in Cincinnati and New York. That's not a throwaway line. That's a competitor already looking toward what's next. She played through pain, kept climbing the rankings, and left Toronto with a standing ovation instead of a quiet walk out the door. That's usually how the next chapter starts, not how one ends. She's still only 21, and by every account, this is only the beginning of what she's building. There's a version of this story where a straight sets loss is just a straight sets loss, a quiet exit, nothing else to say. That's not what happened in Toronto. A sold-out stadium, a new item on the concession menu, a tournament director talking about the future instead of the scoreline. That's what a genuine breakout moment looks like up close. Toronto didn't just watch Eala lose a tennis match. It watched a fan base and a tournament realize, in real time, that they wanted more of each other. If you want more stories like this one, stay close and subscribe. There's a lot more of this journey still ahead.